Howdy Daydreamer and welcome to Dakota Daydreams. I'm Dakota and this is the Bedside Garden, episode 10. The seeds from the Garden Dahl finally arrived, and y'all, I was so sleepy during the seed miss, or it might have been an intentional total surprise, I'm not sure. I knew about Jamaican sorrel, but the chocolate mint was a complete surprise, and I deeply appreciate it 'cause I love mint, and it might not be chocolate flavored all the way, even if it's got the smell of a chocolatized mint on it at all, that's gonna be amazing. Even if it doesn't, mint just smells great. And then, y'all, these are hibiscus seeds, because Jamaican sorrel is hibiscus. It's just one we can eat the leaves of too. So I'm definitely excited to get some of these started. And I almost missed it until I flipped them over while I was putting them away, but she even signed the back of the packets and put a little heart at the bottom. And now that I've checked the mail, it's time to give y'all the update on my WIG 2024. We're gardening indoors, and so far it seems like the pots are. This one especially, I can't figure out if it's trying to come back or going out, but I'm trying to keep the fully crispy leaves pulled off of it so it focuses on trying to do what it can to grow a healthy leaf, maybe. Or I can just start some seeds around it. So far, it seems like being bunked in with figs has helped this one adapt to being moved. I don't know if that's a thing, but for some reason, it's the only one out of the three that's still growing actively, and it happens to be the only one that had figs bunked with it, so I feel like that's related. Single Seed Challenge 2025 Round 2 does not seem to be going super well. I think I'm gonna have to rework something about how I'm putting them into the hydroponics, but I'm hoping it'll pick back up. The good news is, since I tried the new fertilizer, the spinach has been healthy looking, and while it's still kind of little, it's definitely getting bigger, at least. So it's starting to look like I might not have beginner's luck on my Tomato Challenge 2025, because this is my last plant for it, and it doesn't look like it's gonna perk back up, but I'm gonna give it a couple more days. For now, I'm just gonna give everything a couple of drips of peroxide and some time to see if it can recover. I forgot to ventilate this cup, and the water the piece we're in started to get thick, so I poured off the first couple rounds of it, but then I realized it might just be that the seed shell was breaking down. So the last couple pours off of it, while I was rinsing them off, I poured over my seed starting pot. It gives anything in there a bit of a boost. See if it gives. And while I'm waiting to see if anything recovers, I'm gonna start my seeds from the Garden Dahl, starting with these Roselle. Now these Roselle seeds are a pretty good size, and there's quite a few of them in this pack, but I'm gonna start with just two to see how they adjust to how I grow them. And I'm just going to take a minute to swish them around and make sure the water goes over them really well, because they keep floating on the top and they have a bit of a hydrophobic seed shell coating. And I'm going to start some of these chocolate mints. These seeds are incredibly tiny. I get that it's written that they're tiny a couple of times on the packet. They're so tiny that I got the two in my hand for this picture, and I breathed while I was opening the packet, and I found 5 or 6 on the other side of the room. But most of them are still in the packet, and I gathered the ones I could find into the cup I'm trying to germinate them in. Any that turn up later, I'm just going to add to one of the flower pots. While I was trying to find a place for that cup to germinate, I noticed that this spinach was flipped upside down with the seeds stuck to what was meant to be the top of it with the roots pointed up, so I tried pulling that seed off and pouring some peroxide over it and putting it right, and we'll see if that saves it. And because these are paper packs and the chocolate mint seeds are super tiny, I'm gonna keep them in a Ziploc just to try and keep them together and fresh for as long as possible. But after some further investigation, both my tomato challenge tomato and the morning glory had to be pulled because the bottom part of their root had gone just mushy and gross. So I'm gonna take a break from tomatoes for just a minute and try just one of these Swiss chard seeds because honestly, it looks like a radish berry of some sort to me, or like some sort of small dried berry that would be full of other seeds, not one seed. So I'm just gonna try soaking it by itself for a bit and see if I get more than one sprout out of one seed. Because last time I did them in the hydroponics, it looked like way more than two tried to sprout in each cup. And though they're not technically part of WIG 2024 because they aren't technically from seeds, it's time for a big update. The violets in the background have gotten very green on the sticks, and I'm pretty sure they're starting to get longer too. And then the everbearing up front is starting to look like it's getting a little bud on it towards the bottom. And even where the buds aren't as green as they could be, it looks like it's starting to grow more of them, so that's good. And then I remembered I should probably put some fresh water on my parsley seeds, so I rinsed the water off of them, off around my marigold that was struggling, and a couple of the seeds fell out, so I'm gonna just leave them there and see if they do anything. The peas, however, honestly are starting to smell like wet pea soup. So I'm gonna try just misting the top of the lid and leaving them in here dry for a little bit. Y'all, look what came in the mail this morning. Foster seeds. Ailsae seeds from Mr. Pete's Cornish Garden. Y'all, I'm so excited. I'm gonna get some started right now. So I'm gonna get about a handful of seeds and start them in the dirt around the marigold that needs some seed buddies around it. I'm just gonna make sure that I get all of them just lightly covered by the soil because I don't want them to be too deep into the soil, but I don't want them to have too much light either. And then I'm just gonna water them in, not too much, but trying to make sure I don't do too little. And then I have about the same amount in a germination cup that I want to try hydroponically because I think it would be really fun to try them out both ways and see which one gets the bigger onion. And I made sure to save some seeds in the packet as well, just in case neither way works out and I have to resow them later on. So far, I'm out of the tomato challenge, officially into the giant onion challenge, and single seed challenge round 2 is struggling. Sounds like it's time for catalog of the week. This week it's Seed Savers Exchange 50th year anniversary catalog. It's on page 31 that we actually have the cover of the 2025 seed catalog because the first 30 pages are stories and anecdotes about the early days of the company. They even included a 2-page spread of events they're hosting both in person and virtually. And while I'm excited about some of their virtual things, I do wish I lived closer to Iowa because orchard tour and heirloom apple tasting, tomato tasting. I'm not even that big on tomatoes personally, but maybe I'd find one there I like. But once we're into the seed catalog, it starts strong with this squash. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, and it kind of looks delicious. But possibly my favorite thing about the Seed Savers Exchange catalog is that they include the heirloom recipes that go along with some of their heirloom seeds, like this green bean dumpling soup. Then, after I looked up from the recipe, I noticed they have pretty much every variety of bean I could think of, from wild and interesting dragon's tongue, classic look empress, or fancy classic with the fin de Beagle, and many, many more. And a wide variety of dry beans, including classics like Good Mother Stillard or Mayflower, and incredibly new ones that I don't think I've seen anywhere else, like the Akira Yellow or the Hidasta shield figure. And all of those were so pretty, I almost missed the tiger's eye down at the bottom of the page. And while I have seen scarlet runner beans before, I don't feel like I've ever seen them with the dried beans having that much red in the shell before. I was also really excited by the fact they had a little panel on the diversity of brassicas because I find it very interesting that everything from kale to cauliflower is in the same family. I feel like that means a long, long time ago, some gardener somewhere found this plant that was slightly edible and started picking different seeds from it and started specializing it out. Like, oh, these ones are sweeter. Let's keep those over here. These ones have really yummy roots. Let's keep those over here. And I feel like that's how it starts for most plants, but I feel like brassicas show that history the most clearly. And while they do have many brassicas, I feel like this was my favorite spread of them, because it has everything from the dwarf blue curled scotch to the lacinato dinosaur kale in the middle, and it looks purple, but it's called scarlet in the middle on the edge over there. And just all of those beautiful green ones around them as well. They also have the double red corn, as well as the glass gem and country gentleman, but I'd only ever heard of double red before off of other people's channels and a couple of the gardeners growing it this year. I don't think I've seen it in the catalog actually before, and I thought that was cool. And they have every type of cucumber I think I've ever heard of before and then some, including dragon's egg and jelly melon. I don't think I've seen a jelly melon before, but I would love to try and grow one day. Now, their eggplants almost got me, because we have Casper, Diamond, a couple of red blushed ones, and then I look over here and I see Sweet Red. It's apparently an Ethiopian eggplant. I would have thought it was a tomatillo if I had just seen it on a table. Um, so I'm probably gonna have to try that one day in the future. I don't think I have the space for an eggplant plant yet, but Sweet Red just made it to the top of my list for eggplants when I get to that point. Now, I initially snapped this picture because I wanted to show y'all that pretty silver line melon over there. But the longer I looked at it, the more I realized that third one is a Ford Hook gem. Now, generally, when I hear Ford Hook, I immediately think lima bean, but I would definitely be willing to try a Ford Hook melon as well. They also have strawberry spinach. Now, this is a relative of the spinach plant, but it has mulberry-like berries on it that are edible. The leaves are also edible, so I'm really interested in one plant that could be both the vegetable and the fruit in a salad. The And they're the first catalog where I've seen rue, which is a native to southern Europe and northern Africa, and I'm pretty sure is a medicinal herb, but I would have to do more research on it. And among their dozens of heirloom flower seeds, they had these giant spotted foxgloves, and that red font at the bottom of the picture is letting me know that they are poisonous. They have a beautiful bellflower on them. And even though they are also toxic, moonflowers are absolutely beautiful. They also had some gorgeous sunflowers that had, a pop of extra color to them, like these evening suns, or the Velvet Queen, or even the teddy bear for a no seeds, all flowers look. Towards the very back, they have the Seed Savers Exchange planting and seed saving guide. So, if you're very new to gardening like me and you want to try to save your seeds, they have a guide on what to do and look for to get the plant to flower and seed for you. The index for this one is inside of the back page. So, if you know what you want to get, just open it the wrong way and check out the index for where it's at. And thank you for joining me for Catalog of the Week. If you'd like to grab a copy of the Seed Savers catalog, the link will be down below in my description. Now let's get back to the garden. So during the freeze, I may have forgotten to put the caps back over the mango, melon, and the strawberry, and they may have dried to an absolute crisp. But the good news is the Roselle has rooted. Now, because of how thick the root is on it, I'm going to take a toothpick and just stab through the sponge a little bit and make sure at least one of those goes all the way through, just to help give the root a little tunnel to start going into. Just very carefully put the little hibiscus seeds down in there and just try to push their roots towards the seed tunnel I poked in for them. And hopefully that helps the larger rooted type seeds actually take to the seed sponge. And then I misted the top of some germination caps on the inside and just set them on top, and I'm gonna hope for the best. I feel like they're gonna do good. Now it's time for me to share Seed Haul of the Year. See, once a year, all of the seeds come out in the stores, and then after they run out, you kind of just have to wait until next spring for there to be more seeds local. And while I love to look at catalogs, I haven't made it to the point of ordering from them and paying the shipping, all of that, for just a little bedside garden just yet. So, first I went to Dollar Tree, and then I wandered up to the Walmart to see if they had anything the Dollar Tree didn't. And I'm going to show y'all what I found. I got some Grand Rapids lettuce and Calabrese broccoli, a flower garden mix, and cauliflower snowball X. Not really sure how I feel about there being a letter in there. Don't know what that means, but it's the cauliflower they had, and I like cauliflower, so I'm gonna try it. And I like having a pop of color in the bedside garden, and I don't always want to pick what kind of flower it is, so garden mix. And then I found some tender green improved bush beans that I think maybe I could try. Worst case, I'll up pot them to a pot. And I found Alaska peas, which I felt like might work a little bit better than the peas I've been trying. And then I picked out some zinnia Lilliput mixed colors because they look like they have a really interesting petal pattern, and I like how many colors zinnias can come in. It's really cool. And then my partner picked out the bachelor's buttons. and I really like how many different colors are in that pack as well. I found some red cherry large fruited and some beef steaks to try out as well. And then some sugar snap peas and a container variety thyme. And then broadleaf sage. And I walked down to the Walmart looking for different seeds, and the first thing I grabbed is an extremely similar flower mix, but this one's called Old Fashioned Garden Mix. And I just think it's funny that it's the first thing I grabbed, but y'all, seeds are just a little bit addictive. Tiny bit. Really fun to collect though. And then I found purple coneflower echinacea, which I'm really excited to start trying to grow herbally. Um, and my partner picked out Chinese forget-me-nots, which have a really gorgeous powder blue flower. I found cup and saucer mixed color Canterbury bells and got really excited because I adore bellflowers. Anytime I generally try to draw a flower for any type of project, it's normally a bellflower. And then I found a loose leaf blend of lettuce that has a few different kinds. Going through the container garden display, I grabbed some straight eight cucumbers because I like cucumbers, and baby boomer hybrid tomatoes because I was wondering if maybe that type of cherry tomato likes hydroponics. I don't know. Starting to really understand how everyone ends up with dozens of tomatoes though, 'cause I'm already at 4. They had another lettuce blend that had a few different varieties in it. And yes, I found orange watermelons in the container garden section. And I even went back later to see if it was misplaced, but no, there were still more there. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I couldn't look at an orange watermelon and walk away from it. I could walk away from the reds, I could walk away from the yellows, but I saw this orange one, I was like, I'll figure it out. And then walking over to the flowers, I found moss roses and nasturtium in mixed jewel colors, and that one I'm pretty sure is edible. I'm gonna do a little bit more research before I start pulling leaves and eating them, but I'm fairly sure I've heard that both the leaves and flowers are edible. The moss roses, I think, are just pretty and a type of rose that doesn't have thorns. And then finally, they had passion fruit seeds hidden in the flower section as a loved by pollinators flower. Y'all, I got so excited because I've wanted to try passion fruits. I like passion fruit flavored candies and drinks, but I've never found a ripe passion fruit in a store. So I'm gonna try to grow some passion fruits. And while we were at the Dollar Tree, my partner found this lovely little tote that I turned into a little seed vault. I even have the open seeds and unopened seeds and gift seeds all sorted and organized. And then after I watched the Onion News this morning, I noticed that one of my hydroponic Ailsaes was starting to root, but I'm gonna leave her there for a minute and let the root get a little bit longer before I try to transplant it to a sponge. For now, I'm gonna try to start some passion flowers. Let's flip this packet over and see what they say. Only for the intrepid and patient gardener, the flower is a treat, but one that can be tricky. Germination varies from 14 to 365 days, depending on conditions. Yeah, I better get this started. It says the average days to germ looks like 30, so this project could take a little bit. There's not a whole bunch of seeds in here, so I'm gonna try to go easy on them just so I have enough to do multiple attempts. I'm gonna start with just two. They're a pretty decent sized seed, and it doesn't show up in the picture too well, but they have little dimples all along both sides of the seed. And because of how long these take, and so I don't forget to ventilate the seeds, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the toothpick and poke a few holes in the top of their cups so they can get the oxygen they need. I might have to add water a little bit more, but that's fine. But now I'm going to restart Single Seed Challenge 2025, round 3. This time, we're going to try planting it straight into some dirt and see how she goes. So I'm just going to take the seed and wiggle it into the empty seed starting pot and just keep wiggling it until I hit the point of the dirt where it starts to feel like the moist underlayer, and then I'm just going to cover it back up lightly, and we'll just see how that goes. In the meantime, I'm just waiting for these Ailsae onions to sprout because I'm excited to get them started and growing. Well, it's editing day. Let me take a quick look around the garden and see if there's anything I forgot to mention or anything else that needs to be done before I get the video together. The passion fruit and mint seeds look good. The giant onion seeds are rooting, and the single Swiss chard seed is still just kind of absorbing water. So far, everything in the bedside garden seems to be growing. Well, except for this one spinach over on the edge, but at least the one in the middle's doing alright. So, one spinach is better than no spinach, and I feel like I've grown and learned a lot from the experience of sharing what I've grown as well, because I'm able to connect with and learn from everyone else too. Oh yeah, I did have to pull off the metal charms that were on the bedside garden because it looked like they were starting to corrode or change, and the way they were changing looked a lot like the buildup that's been getting on the plants. So I was hoping that maybe taking them off might help. And we went by the store this morning and I accidentally got another pack of flowers. These ones are called Gazania Sunshine Mixed Colors, and I especially thought the orange one just looked gorgeous and wanted to try them out. And finally, it's time for the Flowers Everlasting Spotlight. I haven't seen anyone using hashtag Flowers Everlasting 2025 yet, but I just started it last week, so I thought I'd go over it again real quick and start some seeds. Today I'm going to start some bachelor's buttons, but any flowers are welcome. Herb flowers, vegetable flowers, flowers you saw on the sidewalk and want to ask everybody what it is, and then tell us why that flower's important to you. For example, when these grow up, I could say I grew them from seed, or you could say you found it on your way to work and it brightened your day, or just whatever the story of the flower is. And it captures both the flower and the memory so that neither one ever wilts or fades. And then if you decide to participate and include a frame that has your channel and the flower's story, I can include you in the Flowers Everlasting 2025 spotlight at the end of my videos. Thank you for dreaming with me. If you'd like to check out the story from the beginning, check out the playlist on the right. If you heard of a challenge you're interested in, check my description for a short that has the rules about that challenge. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to tap the like button. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep your heads in the clouds, daydreamers.